god, who's deep-throating something in it?
Oh, that's me, baby.
So dirty.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Late Game episode 45. My name is Lake, and with me, as always, Destiny and In Control. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. Nothing to do with StarCraft, because this is not a StarCraft show. Just kidding. Great jokes, dank memes, all around. Anyway, Jeff, how was your weekend?
Really good. Home from a lot of travel, so just enjoying some quiet time and relaxation.
Cool. Steven, what about you?
Just playing video games, same as always.
Awesome. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Actually, no, let's not jump right into it. YouPorn, right? We were talking a little bit about this before the show. YouPorn is now looking for a Counter-Strike team. Apparently, they have a Dota team, and I didn't know this was a competitive game, but that Evolve game apparently holds competitions, and they have a team for that took second place in a tournament recently. But let's talk about them as a sponsor. Would you, Jeff, ever take on YouPorn as a sponsor?
Personally, I would not, no. Just because a sponsorship like that oftentimes bring more trouble than is worth. I mean, if they were like, hey, we'd like to give you $1 million to be our guy, then yeah, I probably would do it. And I think Anna, who would probably have a problem with it, would be like, yeah, that's fine, I guess. We can secure our financial future. But in light of a windfall of money, you know, just a reasonable sponsorship, it's just way too much trouble for its worth.
Makes sense. Steven, I assume you're on the same.
Yeah, I see that Jeff jacked all of my answers that we gave in the pre-show. So
Oh, yeah!
yeah, no, pretty much the same thing. It would have to be a very, very big payout in order to consider it, just because of all the trouble that could potentially come. No other sponsors would probably want to be next to that badge on your shirt, and yeah.
I'm gonna do that next time. Because we talked about all this stuff beforehand. I'm gonna just take all of Steven's answers.
There's we get these nuggets from Steven all the time. You can't like keep them to yourself. He needs those.
Oh, we got a whole subject that's based on him. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh God. So I guess I'm curious about your thoughts. Like, right, look, it's pornography, right? But if you look at, we talked last week about gambling, you know, the skins gambling and betting, fantasy esports, stuff like that. I think it's safe to say that more people use pornography in the world than they do gamble, but gambling causes more problems in people's lives than pornography. Do I have any statistics? No, but I mean, I'd like to think that's a reasonable assumption.
I mean, it depends on how the people feel about it. I mean,
are you not live on Team Liquid again, by the way?
What?
Are you not live on Team Liquid again, and you didn't tweet it?
I did post it.
I think Twitch.
I'm talking to our fearless leader here, Steve.
Oh yeah, no. I'm saying that it might be Twitch's API. I don't know. Did you put it up on Team Liquid?
Yeah, I did.
You should tweet it out as well, and these are things that.
All right. Well, you talk about the dynamic of the pornography industry getting involved in mainstream media, and whether or not that is something we will ever see in modern society.
No, I'll just wait for you to tweet it out.
I think Twitch is having a lot of trouble loading right now. I can't even load chat, so I can't shout at people.
Really?
Yeah. Are you able to?
I'll know in a second.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Twitch is having some problems right now. A lot of other people asked in my chat. A lot of other people are saying the same thing.
Lame.
What was the fuck? What were we talking about? Question.
So YouPorn, like, what is YouPorn? Is pornography?
Just pornography causes harmful things. So I mean, like, it really depends on the type of, like, you have in the United States of America, there's still a lot of religious households and religious families, or at least from my personal experience, tend to look down on things like pornography quite a bit, much more so than even something like gambling, depending on your particular religious affiliation. So if you are in a Christian household, there are people that would take extreme offense to stuff like that, whether or not that's right or wrong or moral or immoral or whatever. That's just kind of a fact of life right now. It would kind of be like, I would compare like a pornography sponsorship. It's kind of similar to, like, if you were to get like a cigarette sponsorship in esports, like, there would probably be a lot of people that, like, wouldn't necessarily be happy with it. But if you were to get like a marijuana sponsorship, I think that would turn a lot more heads in a negative way, even though you could say like, oh, well, marijuana's not as bad as cigarettes and blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, just because of the way the culture kind of works right now.
All right. So
that's exactly right. Like, there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, porn, whatever, it's fine. I don't have a super strong opinion. And there's people who are like, if you associate yourself publicly with porn, you are a degenerate gross. You're advocating for horrible things, like the sex trade is linked to, like it
Yeah.
conjures up way too much energy and strength of things that you probably don't care that much about to ever associate yourself with it publicly. It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. I just I wanted to see if you guys what wavelength you were on when it comes to that. I don't think we'll ever see it as a main sponsor. It's kind of like, we joke about it like, haha, you porn looking
It's
for a.
I mean, it's possible it could happen somewhere down the road, just because of the way that people are, just not yet, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, money talks. I mean, they did sponsor that Dota team, and it had like a 3 day splash or whatever. But then the Dota team wasn't anything good, and YouPorn didn't back it up with a whole bunch of advertising or anything like that, and didn't like fly him out to a porn set or something funny. So it just kind of happened, and then nobody cared and it went away.
I am curious. Like, let's say that YouPorn is full on. Like, this isn't just a nerd that was given like a little bit of web space on their server,
Hmm.
and there's a little bit of money available behind this. I would be curious to see, because I mean, YouPorn is raking in just insane amount of money. I would be curious to know how they're feeling this out, right? Are they thinking like, we really want to go balls deep in esports? I swear to God,
Yeah,
that wasn't intentional.
I'm sure it wasn't like him.
Are they trying to go really hard on esport? No, stop. Are they trying to go all out on esports, or are
No.
they just like dicking around, throwing a little bit of money at it, seeing what they can do?
I mean,
Not
it would be
clever.
interesting to see. Like, I mean, if you really thought about it, like there is a lot of overlap between the communities. I mean, the demographics are probably virtually identical. Majority male, like 18 to 24 demographic, maybe a little bit older. Like, I don't know. It's such a tough subject. Like it's a minefield. Like there are just some things that you just don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick.
If it, I guess here you go. Here's the best analogy for you. Say that it would have come out that Jared guy, the Subway guy, the girl that he was jerking off to, I don't even know what the fuck happened, the child porn or whatever. Say that you would have found out that the kids in that porn were like 14 years old, and it's on like a public news site or whatever, and like a politician would have like come out and somebody was like, Jared is a pedophile, and he was like, well, hold on, the girl, she's not technically a pedophile because she's not under the age or whatever. Like that's like not a fight that you want to take, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not a hill you want to die
even if
on.
you're technically right, like it's just not that's just not something that you want to
No.
that you want to do.
All right.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
makes sense. Didn't someone or didn't something get a liquor sponsorship? I think this happened before I was around. Something in StarCraft.
I mean, State of the Game was loosely sponsored by Alaska Distillery.
Okay, yeah, maybe that was it. I don't know. There was some video, and it had the DreamHack guy in it. Like at the whole video shows someone needing money for some event or some partnership, and at the end it shows, I think, Robert Olin, and he turns and he looks at this bottle of champagne and he like winks at the camera.
I don't know. Like, and it's so hard to interpret your brain sometimes. That
Right.
might not have been about booze, because if you're talking about DreamHack, no, they were never sponsored by alcohol.
Well, no, someone who was partnering with DreamHack, and it like showed this thing on the wall, like a bunch of their failed sponsorship attempts to stay afloat. And then it shows them making a phone call to Robert Olin, and then Robert Olin pulls out the champagne and
Oh, that's the
Winks.
good studio. Again, nothing to do
Oh.
with an alcohol sponsorship.
it's all right. Never mind. I'll look it up. But
No, it's the good studio. They partnered with DreamHack. Yeah, I know that.
yeah,
commercial.
but on like the thing where it was like written failed sponsorships, one of them was whiskey sponsorship or something.
Yeah, like failed as in they tried and didn't get it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like it didn't work kind of thing. Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you, Jeff. Keeping me in line. Let's go ahead and move on. So what we're going to talk about first are player-team relationships. What spawned this topic for me was looking at Reddit today. Exile 5 announced 4 players that are going to be on Team Exile 5. It's really exciting. They're North American players. It's really great that we have people taking on new people, right? This fucking Tits McGee. Neuro, Believe, Agile Zerg, and X Kawaiian. I love Neuro. Don't know too much about the other dudes, and I don't know anything about Believe, but Believe caused a little bit of a stir. So, what I want to talk about today...
This is on Reddit or something?
Yeah.
The stir on Reddit?
Yeah, well, the stir on Reddit. So, I had no idea who Believe was.
59 comments in this thread.
And I'm curious, though. It made me wonder, what it's like to be a team owner and then to sign a player. And now, with as prevalent as this seems to be, because I talked to another team that had talked to Believe about possibly having him on, but that team knew exactly what he was like. They knew about him. Their players knew about him and told them when they were discussing, hey, we might bring this person on. They knew what this player was all about, and they just said, no, we're not going to be involved with you. So I'm curious first if Exile 5 knew that Believe is a very BM, and supposedly he's been involved in boosting and accused of map hacking, whatever. So Believe comes on. There are a bunch of comments, and I see the gentleman from Exile 5 responding to them, saying, hey, send some replays. And what I wonder is, because we don't see what's going on in the background, is this guy going to be pressured into kicking Believe? And if he is, are those relationships that team owners should be starting? If you're going to reach out to someone and say, hey, we're signing you onto our team, you're going to be part of the Exile 5 family or the Evil Geniuses family or whatever, you're going to come on, be a part of our team. Is that like such a fickle relationship that immediately you can cut it because someone else said, hey, no, we're not going to, we don't like him, we're going to stop supporting your team? I mean, what effect does that have? Should it have? Jeff, you are on Evil Geniuses. Idra, it's one of the more well-known stories about someone getting removed because of their interaction with the public. So I'd like to toss to you first and just say, can you talk about the dynamic between public team? Where does the team have to stand its ground and support its player versus where does the team have to say, you know what, you're too much, we got to get rid of you?
Well, different teams have different thresholds. EG has tons and tons of sponsorship, tons and tons of money, so they can afford to have a bad boy. We had Stefano as well, who would be seen getting arrested and drunk after a dream hack. Our affiliation team, Alliance, had Naniwa, who is absolutely insane, just mind-bendingly insane, and has said and done really weird things, like walking out of a match halfway through it on stage for a tournament that he flew miles for, So we definitely have a history of like taking risks with these players. So EG has, like I said, a higher threshold. Not only can they afford to take those risks, but also there is something to be said for that benefit in a certain way. And this is a really weird line to walk. Idra, Stefano, to a much lesser degree and very different. And also to a certain extent, Naniwa, although again, I would say less than Idra. Idra's fandom was based on him being a dick. Like, he wasn't insane. He didn't just fly off the wall all the time. He was very frustrated with StarCraft, and he was very vocal about it, and he said it in, like, amusingly unintelligent ways given how intelligent he was, So it kind of created this weird situation where he played with an angst, he played Zerg, and he played really well. If Idra didn't win, by the way, if he wasn't a particularly good player, which I'm not here to say he was the best ever, but for a time he was very, very good, then nobody would care. If you're a loser in attitude and a loser in game, nobody cares. But if you win and you're a bad boy, that can be an interesting mix that actually becomes fairly marketable. And Idra obviously outlasted his stay. He started to get more frustrated with the game, didn't win as much, and then started saying more toxic things, like the comment about Michael Kim, and then the one that actually got him off the team was about a Latin American player. He just said, I wish you have cancer, or whatever it is, or get cancer. Like, the dumbest thing ever. None of us are Brujas, or, like, none of us are witch doctors, so what does it even fucking mean to wish a disease on someone?
Was that it, or was it the response to the community's response, which was
It was both, okay. But it doesn't matter. It was both the comments, one after the other. The one that actually got him removed. I mean, I think they cited the community one where he said, like, the joke is I get paid to laugh at you idiots or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, that was really, really bad. But the one that actually got him kicked off was when it was reported that he again said to a player, like, I hope you catch on fire, fall downstairs, and get cancer. So, like, some weird, like, I don't even know what that is. If it's a curse, it's a very explicitly detailed one. But yeah, the Idra situation was extremely unique, and that's why it's an interesting topic, certainly, but there's just so many other people that I feel like the situation is very different for. If you're like a team like X5, who has Pig, excuse me, who's a very successful personality and great guy and definitely a good figurehead for your team, and then you sign 4 relatively unknown North American players who, certainly if you play in the ladder, you know of these guys, but beyond that, not at all. Absolutely not at all. And one of them is like perhaps a hacker, but certainly a big dickhead, then where is that risk reward? Like, you're trying to be an established sponsored team that gives people chances, and you're going to take a chance on a guy that's not making a splash. He does okay on the ladder and apparently upsets a lot of people and may actually cheat. Not a good risk.
Okay. Steven, what are your thoughts? Well, first of all, some people know this, some people don't. You were in a similar situation.
Was I? Yeah. The everything that Jeff said is true. The I think that I think that the only thing that matters is really the end of what he said. I think that everything is like risk reward. When you look at a player like um, this is it sounds kind of unfair and it sounds kind of like a shitty thing, but this is going to be true in every aspect of your life. Different people can get away with doing
Hmm.
different things based on the value that they present to like a company or whatever. And that's true everywhere. You'll notice this if you go to work, whatever, like you might have like some employee who maybe calls out for a week because something comes up and then another employee does it and they get fired. And everybody's like, oh, well, it's not fair, whatever. But the one employee has been working for like 10 years and has never missed a day of work. Like you get more leeway based on the value you present, as you should, because there is a merit to doing things like that. Um, so when it comes to if you look at a player like Idra, Idra was able to get away with the things that he did because he presented an absolutely fucking huge value to EG. He was extremely marketable. He had a huge, maybe the largest fan base in all of StarCraft 2 for an individual.
Yeah.
Possibly even today still I would say possibly. So I mean Idra can get away with a
Absolutely
lot more
fucking
than
huge
say
value.
Orb, who was brought in as a new caster, got involved in some shit and was instantaneously kicked because fuck. Like Orb was, it was just when you bring somebody on and they're immediately 100% become a liability. It's like, well, fuck, like I can't do this. Like, um, so yeah, I mean, if you have a new team and you're taking on like a whole bunch of, this sounds really rude coming from me, but to take on a whole bunch of no names and then one of those no names is potentially like a hacker BM person, it's like, well, fuck, like this isn't worth the liability at all. Like Jeff said, if they're not like making a splash or doing something amazing, like this is not even close to being a worthwhile investment in my opinion.
I think that's a valuable lesson too, because I think we're raised, at least as Westerners and certainly as Americans, you're kind of raised to believe, and I think you should believe this and work for it. But in the like actual world, it's hard to consider it real. But you should like that we're all special snowflakes and we're all starfish and like we should all be treated equally. I think that's a paradigm to aim for and to fight for. But you also have to have kind of a realistic like everything Steven said is exactly true, and it actually can be extrapolated to like all elements of life, unfortunately. And it's weird how up in arms a lot of people get about this almost ignorantly. Like again, if there's directly big hypocritical moments where one person's just blatantly getting favoritism and it's unfair to like again to an invisible degree, like we don't actually have a threshold for this, but we can talk about injustice, then yeah, you raise up your arms. But if there's like
Sure. And a great example of that, actually, a really great relevant example would be the fucking guy getting fired from Top Gear.
hmm, I
There
don't know
was
his name, but
Yeah,
everyone
I
knows
know
what
what
you're
you're
talking
talking
about.
about.
like that was like a guy who was universally loved or whatever, but he went too far. He like physically assaulted that dude in the bar, and it's like that's too much. Like even he
Yeah.
could. Yeah.
So let's talk about one more thing on the exit of this topic. Let's talk about public perception. And the example I'm going to use, I don't want to get into religion or anything. I just want to use this as an example. The former CEO of Firefox, I believe it was in 2013 or 2014, he donated $3,000 to, I think it was the Family Research Council, which is I think it's a religious organization that, I don't know, you know what I mean, anti-gay marriage stuff, right? So he had previously donated that before he was even a member of the Firefox team, before he was CEO of Firefox, I'm sorry. And then as soon as someone found that out, it was all over social media, all over whatever, and he was forced to resign. Uh, to what extent? I mean, we answer to our customers at the end of the day. If the customers have enough clout about it, or they have enough of an opinion about a certain topic, they can sway big business decisions. Obviously, this guy being voted off or forced to step down. I'm sure the board of directors was like, "Look, we're going to get rid of you, or you can step down. It's up to you." But I mean, do you think that organizations should succumb to that, or I
They
guess
have to. They have to. E.g., even at the end, didn't necessarily want to fire Hydra. Like, they loved him, and he was a huge part of the reason why they became as big as they did. Yet, when their sponsors, the people that are their lifeblood, go to them and are like, hey, we are not going to be associated with someone that says and does those kind of things. Like, we've warned them, we've had too much tolerance, and now it's time to act on it. You're a company, you're a business. You have more responsibility than some kind of weird martyrdom act that you're going to do. And again, that goes to the threshold thing. Like for a team like Exile 5, they don't have as much public sway. Like people don't know them. For a lot of people, this is their first look at Exile 5, and they're like, oh, they signed a hacker or some guy that says what? Oh, the screenshots? Okay, well That's my opinion now of Exile 5. Is that worth it?
All right, so you're the say you signed on this guy, right? Would you say, hey, you know what? He's part of this team. We see this. We've talked to him, and if he ever does it again, please let us know because we will get rid of him. But otherwise, we're going to give him a chance. Or would you say, we didn't realize this was how you act on ladder.
I'm the wrong guy to ask because I would have looked into him enough to see. Oh, okay, he's a bit of a dick. You know, like not even a bit of a dick. I'm putting it too lightly. Actually, he's actually like people. He's a giant dick, and I don't know if he hacks or not. There's no conclusive proof of that. There's just people talking about. Who cares? For the most part, he's a ladder player who's a dick, and that's not enough for me. I don't know what team I'm on that I'm managing where like. I mean, StarCraft's slim pickings. You know, you're looking for top talent. Sure, you're looking for young guys that are good at the ladder. That's a starting point. You want to get them to tournaments, okay. But I certainly wouldn't go with the douchebags that everyone hates. Just wouldn't do it.
All right, Steven, any final thoughts?
I don't really like that comparison between the guy donating to the anti-gay thing and this thing. I think that those are bad comparisons because this guy is being the reason why people don't like the whatever the guy on the team, the Exile 5 team or 6 team or whatever the fuck. The reason why people are unhappy with that is because of a reason that's directly related to the game. So I don't know. I get a little bit nervous when we talk about the other things where it's like because somebody has like a personal belief that we disagree with, now they have to be kicked off of everything and fired from, and the board of directors is. I think that's kind of a different thing.
One's a behavior, one's a belief thing. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. But well, and directly relevant, pertinent to the game we're talking about. But other than that, yeah, I pretty much agree with what Jeff said. Like. It seems sometimes like I don't know if you get this impression. It seems sometimes like when the new teams come on, they literally just like put out like they go to like the Battle.net channel like, hey, who wants to join our pro team? And then like random people join, and then you find out later like, oh well, this guy's like has huge fucking problems BMing shit, and I don't know. This happened in the past with another team too, where somebody was recruited and it later came out like, oh, this guy's like a fucking hacker and like totally fucked and.
Public perception is extremely powerful, especially in the space we're talking about. Like, again, getting a little bit away from the example of Exile 5, because they're a fledgling team. Hopefully, they'll do great things. But for right now, you know, they're not necessarily the big picture that I'm talking about. But, like, if the public perceives you one way or another, you can lose opportunities. You can absolutely get new opportunities. Like, it's just so powerful either way. And this is a great cast for this because both Steven and I in particular have really good life experience with it. Just talking to my own, like there was definitely times where, especially when I was more outspoken on like state of the game, there's weeks of my life where like I was the bad guy. I did and said actually, you know, one of the times I BM Steven really hard on a show, and like for 2 or 3 months after that, I couldn't say anything on Reddit without being that guy, being that 2 minutes of my life. And that's just public perception because there's so many people that don't watch everything. They don't consume and read everything. They're just there for the 2 minutes, and if they see that, that's who you are. So there's a lot of people seeing an announcement of a player being signed, or, you know, Idris says this comment, and then that's their snapshot example of them. And then there's a lot of activist people too who, by the way, are like, well, I'll never watch their stream again. I had recently purchased their team jersey. I'm gonna write the sponsors and say I don't want to be a part of that. Like, there's just people that take it to the highest degree, and it's just, if you're rocking that boat and you're unsettling the weirdos on the internet that like get kind of vigilant about their beliefs and go crazy, it's gonna be a tough time. So that's why there's this ultra safe people like certain, you know, like Day 9. Day 9 will never say anything controversial because he's super safe that way. Then there's other people like myself who used to just be like, whatever the fuck I'm thinking, I'd say it. And in the last few years, I've dialed it back because it's so hard to be that person. It's scary. It's irresponsible financially almost.
Jeff, at the end of last year, you had released a blog just talking about you doing different events and all that stuff. I think it was after not getting selected for BlizzCon. Has that been an issue that you feel you've fully gotten past as far as the perception of Jeff makes these kind of jokes, we don't necessarily want to have him on a broadcast? You've been doing a lot of things. Do you feel like you've moved past that?
Yeah, that's funny too. That's interesting. So yeah, that video is either good or bad depending on your opinion. I mean, there's people rightfully so on both sides of it. If you're disappointed with something and you publicly talk about you're disappointed with it, you're taking a huge risk. And there were certainly people that did not receive that video well. But yeah, the perception of me internally at Blizzard was the Home Story Cup and DreamHack guy that is there specifically to make jokes and have a good time and be kind of the loose cannon that keeps it interesting. Like that's literally what the production people were like. Hey, you're here to be that guy, and if you're not that guy, then why are you here? You know. So I did it. I did it a bunch, and Blizzard only saw that and we're like, well, we really don't want that anywhere near our WCS broadcast because we are straight-laced, serious, professional, StarCraft guys. That's not the place for it. So I lost out on BlizzCon, largely in part because of that. And I'm not speculating. People, don't think that this is a weird paranoia I have. I actually sat down with individuals at Blizzard, and this is the talk we had. So for this last year on the WCS broadcast, have I been funny off the cuff? A little bit. But I've been definitely more on point in showing that I obviously am not some weirdo that has to make jokes all the time. Like I can be fairly serious and have a good time as well. So that's been the winning formula that everyone's been more comfortable with, and I've been happier that way. But you're exactly right. It's a very close to home situation where my perception on what people, or actually what I was told people wanted, and then the umpteenth degree I gave it at, actually cost me a big opportunity.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that's actually something that for the last year I've kept at the back of my mind was that video, because it's something that I think I agree with you guys. By the way, when it comes to public perception, it is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Do I always agree with it? No. Steven, you were having some discussion a little while back about something a little different. You were talking about beliefs, but you're talking about how we've now gotten to the point where
people have this problem with people. This is like a general tendency that like humans have, right? Is that we like to as people we like to put things in boxes. That's like one of the best things that humans excel at is organizing things, right? You have these things and you put them into groups and you organize them like a child. You'll see like children when they're learning, one of the first things they do is they like line up cars, and it's just things that people do. One thing that we do when we talk about people, and you'll notice this if you listen to the news or if you hear anybody talk about ISIS or anything like that, you've got the ISIS terrorists, but you have the Syrian rebels. You've got good guys and bad guys. Like everybody is like fucking huge on that shit. Like you have a good guy and you have a bad guy, and period, and that's it. And we seem to forget that like people are very, very nuanced. Like it's very, very rare that you'll ever find like a truly evil person. Like it's very, very hard to actually have that happen. There are a lot of people on this planet that are good people who happen to be racist. It is. There are a lot of people on this planet who are good people who happen to be, bigoted in some way whatsoever. They might be good to their family. They might work at a charity. They might do all these things, but they just have like one or two fucked up beliefs. That's just the nature of being a person, right? Is that people are nuanced. People seem to not only do people not, I don't know if they don't understand this or they reject it or they just are uncomfortable with that truth, but people get this idea in their head that if somebody has like one idea or one opinion or does this one thing, that all of a sudden, and we've all seen this on the fucking internet, especially in fucking Reddit threads and everything else, that if somebody does this one thing that's like this bad thing or unacceptable thing, all of a sudden the entirety of that person's contributions, past, previous, future, fucking everything that they've ever done and ever will do and ever have been associated with and ever will be associated with, and the people that have ever been associated with them or ever will be, all of these things all of a sudden become tainted, like it's HIV is crossed into every aspect of everything. And I think that mentality is that's a really scary kind of gross mentality that for some reason we seem to have started to adapt as people. I don't know, I'm really, really, really uncomfortable that stuff has kind of become the norm.
Yeah.
I guess to use a personal example, when I had a whole bunch of it really wasn't even anything I say scandalous in that I wasn't fucking with I didn't say anything race or whatever, but I had my personal issues with a girl and we had a big falling out or whatever. For whatever reason, somehow that came to we need to email his sponsors because of personal life problems and tell everybody how horrible he is. Well, when the Shit Reddit Says went on that campaign to try to revoke all my sponsorships or whatever, and they started emailing the people that did my website, the Cloud9 Labs, my guy emailed them back and said that we're not interested in dropping him as a sponsor. We don't think it's that big of a deal. So then the next step was, okay, well now we need to contact every single client of that company that's still associated with that one guy that did that one thing and made I don't know, that shit gets fucking crazy ridiculous. I think. And when you mentioned that thing about, I don't even know what story you're talking about. You mentioned there was a guy on a board who had donated money to an anti-gay marriage thing.
CEO of Firefox, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of gay marriage, and I think it's something that we should be past a long time ago. I don't think that this should even be an issue anymore. Gay marriage is just something. It's hopefully we can move past it. But at that being said, if somebody is anti-gay marriage, people have views and beliefs like that. Like, fuck, like it's just something that you have to, not everybody is going to agree. This idea that everybody has to share these exact fucking same common set of beliefs. Otherwise, if they don't, we're going to destroy every fucking aspect of their life. Like, that shit is fucking crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one of
Yeah.
the, I think the biggest, if you look at it, the social media is going to be the thing that destroys the world one day. And I say that jokingly, but if you think about it, look how many regimes have been knocked down. What, 2 or 3 because of a Facebook post? Arab Spring was a Facebook post and Twitter feed gone wild. So
Did you ever see the story of the one woman? Holy shit. A woman gets on a plane to take, I don't know if she was doing a charity thing or if it was just a vacation thing or what, but she gets on a plane to Africa, and before the plane takes off, she tweets like, "I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. Haha, I'm white," or whatever. Did you ever hear about that story?
No.
no.
Oh man, well she did it, and like her the meaning of what she was tweeting was supposed to be like a tongue-in-cheek reference to how
Yes,
fucked up it
yes,
is
I
to be
remember
like a
that.
black person in Africa, like you're so fucked or whatever. But people saw that tweet and they took it the wrong way, and it got retweeted around the internet, and her life was fucking destroyed. She was like fired from her job before she even fucking landed, like got off the plane, like this blew up all over social media, like holy shit, like her life was fucking destroyed because of how people took that tweet. That shit is fucking crazy, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're pretty much in agreement on this topic. It's pretty crazy. Going back to the original thing, I understand what you're talking about, Jeff, about the risk and whatnot. You know, it's like, are we going to put up with this for a while? Is the reward going to pay off? This guy's new. The team is new to that. Well, personally, I think that if you're going to sign someone, you better damn well, first of all, do your research. Second of all, if you've done your research and you've signed this person and people still have a negative reaction, you be ready to defend it because you made the choice, and you shouldn't make those light, you know, agreement to be on a team should be fucking serious. Just like it is for the NFL to sign some dude, it should be serious for Exile 5 to say, hey, we're going to pay you a standard salary a month. Granted, I get it. Exile 5 is an EG, but still, these teams aspire to be, you know, the big leagues. Act like it. So if you're going to sign someone, be ready to defend why you signed them, and take community criticism as, you know, take it, but take it with a grain of salt, and be ready to do your own thing.
I mostly agree, but I mean, if you fuck up and you sign someone and then something comes out that is really bad, like, and again, the EG example, God, what was that caster's name? You just said his name.
Orb?
Orb. You know, it's like, it's not even that actually while on EG, he said the N-word a whole bunch. He actually, at the NASL studios, played like 50 ladder games, and it was something like 150 times he said it to people. It was in the text chats of the replays on their computer. So it's like, and you know what? You know, people have opinions on that word. That's fine. But again, if you're entering into the public sphere, you're getting a job with a bigger company that has images, it has sponsorships. Sometimes it's completely taken out of their hands, and people got really upset because, like, Alex Garfield made it about his like college degree and how he felt about it. When, to be honest, all he should have said is like, "No, it's unacceptable. He's fired." Because that's the honest answer. That's it. You don't have to add emotion or philosophy to it. It's just 100%. A sponsor was like, "Hey, we will not give you any money if you have a guy like that on your roster.
Right.
We just won't be near that word because we answer to millions of people, and millions of people like, you know, all the stories Steven and Lycan and we were just talking about crazy people out there that get really fervent about things. You don't want to rattle that bee's nest because they are out there. There's like, my grandfather's fucking one of them. You saw a guy wearing a shirt that said like shit on it. He like wrote the local government or some crap. It's like, they're out there, man. And I love my grandfather, and he's an otherwise great guy, but he's one of those people that's like, well, I feel strongly about your opinion. I'm going to attack.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Jesus God.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to now move on to, first of all, I like that discussion. Good job, guys. Second of all, let's move on. Inconsistency in StarCraft 2 performances. What we're going to be talking about now is really just, you know, the lack of a Bonjwa in StarCraft 2, a lack of that person that has that really big, long period of dominance, and what it means. You know, is it because of StarCraft 2, it's you, what I believe is that it's you in the booth by yourself, right? You go in there, you don't have a coach that's sitting there next to you talking to you, right? You don't have 4 other teammates that get to sit there, and when you kind of lack, they can come in and help you out, or they can talk you through it and say, no, man, you got to go back and do this, right? No one's telling you to drop the supply depot you missed. No one's telling you, hey, you missed that little corner, scout again, kind of thing. It's all you in the booth, and I think that the volatility of the StarCraft 2 meta, the volatility of just being an individual in a competitive environment, doesn't allow for someone to be that dominant force for a long period of time. So I'll throw this to Steven. I was watching you talking with Chanman and Richard about League of Legends a little bit. Dyrus, is he retiring or something like that? I can't remember what the topic was, but either way, I know you've been following League for a while now, and I guess I'd like your opinion on the team game versus StarCraft 2 and why it is that it seems that StarCraft 2 players don't have that long period of dominance where it seems to happen in other esports.
Was this directed at me or Jeff? Or?
That was it, Steven.
I really don't know. I mean, MVP was pretty close, right? Didn't he win he knocked down a fuck ton of GSLs, didn't he? He's probably unless
4,
something.
I think.
Was it just oh?
Maybe it was 5. I don't know.
More than any other player, no? Or has somebody surpassed that? I haven't followed any recent GSL shit. But I guess like I don't know. I feel like or maybe this is just because back when I was actually more involved, I feel like MVP and ST were seemed like kind of like the closest things to that. I don't know why. I don't know why there's not a long-standing. I really don't. I can't. This is a question that's been asked a lot. This is actually a question that's come up, like even in big subreddit posts in the past. Like, why is there no, StarCraft 2 Banjo? Because you see these players will just like come and go. They'll have like these flashes of like brilliance. Like MKP will come in and then they like fucking disappear after a while, and no one sees or hears about them. MMA, like they come in for a while and they seem to do really good for a little bit, and then they kind of leave, and then. It seems really rare that you get like I guess like innovation would be like another example of somebody that seems like they consistently played well for a long period of time. But those players seem very few and far between.
Jeff, your thoughts?
What's the subject?
Inconsistency
Why,
in StarCraft 2 performances?
Where's the StarCraft 2? Why don't we have those like the Jadons,
Right.
Bisus,
Yeah,
Flashes?
I know. I tuned out. Okay. This has been discussed many a time, but
Yeah.
like, the reason there's not a Bonjour in StarCraft 2 is because the skill ceiling is high, certainly higher than most other games, but not high enough where someone can just literally be so dominant that nobody else can touch them for any stretch of period of time. We've also had more volatility with maps, I would say, than anything else. They're like very racially biased maps, which did occur in Brood War for sure, but was usually at least there was more parity between Terran and Protoss, or not Protoss, excuse me, Terran and Zerg in particular with those maps. In StarCraft 2, it's like either a map's good for Protoss and pretty bad for everybody else, or it's pretty good for everybody else and really bad for Protoss. So there's like little things like that, but just the quite frank answer is that like what a Flash, Jadong, Stork, and some of these other guys could do in Brood War, they cannot do in StarCraft 2. People can get lucky against them. People can be about as good as they are, or maybe even quite a bit worse, but still win. Whereas in Brood War, if you're better than somebody, 8.5 times out of 10 in the Korean, I'm talking about the Koreans, they're going to win. For them against like the Korean gods in Brood War against everybody else, you don't even use out of 10, it's like out of 100, and it would be like 97 out of 100, 98. They were unstoppable. It was a big deal when they lost a map.
Okay,
It might be because the mechanics in Brood War were so much more challenging that you absolutely had to have like there was a baseline mechanics requirement in Brood War to do anything, and if you didn't have it, then you were fucking nothing. You were useless. You literally just couldn't perform at any level whatsoever. And that I don't want to say StarCraft 2 is an easy game and mechanics, but like I mean, StarCraft 2 is a less mechanically demanding game, so. I mean, that would be like a guess, but I'm not.
So that.
Sure.
So let's talk about. So one of the things I thought about with this is let's talk about quantifying how good a player is, right? If you look at the other games, you look at Counter-Strike, you look at League of Legends, you have the KDA, right? So you can say, okay, this person is contributing this much. For the most part, Counter-Strike has had the same maps for years. League of Legends is played on one map. Dota is played on one map. There are different ways to analyze the statistics. You can look at the choice of guns for different people in Counter-Strike. You can look at how effective they are with X gun versus that gun. In StarCraft, you have the maps change, first of all. You have the meta changing, evolving. While we don't get a lot of balance updates and all that stuff, though, compared to like League of Legends, I feel like we don't have the statistics within the game to say this person is X, Y, and Z. You're looking at a game coming up, right? You're trying to analyze a group of players playing. You don't have really numbers. You can say, sure, yeah, he beats so-and-so in 4 out of 5 best of 5s. he's going to beat X player or Y player, right? But against this race, he's only, going to win 1 in 3 games, things like that. Jeff, when you look at StarCraft 2 players, do you really think there is a way to, numerically quantify, hey, this player has X chance of winning, or this player is rated this among his peers? Or is it just, oh, well, recent performance kind of says, yeah, he's likely to beat a Protoss?
If you would have asked me that a while ago, I would have told you that there's so many variables that's hard to predict like that. But man, um, I'm blanking on the name of the program, the guy that does it, but that shit is pretty damn accurate. Yeah, Ligulac. Like it's obviously not 100%. It's not even close, but it's more accurate than I ever would have imagined. And
Didn't somebody post where Ligulac like predicted almost like perfectly one of the tournaments like a few months ago? Like it was almost like spot on, like down to the wins and losses per match, I think.
Yep. Yeah, he's done. It's just it can be fairly mathematical. It can be, and that's I've won it was like forever ago. I've done okay in a couple of the like God, I'm blanking on all the names right now, but like the prediction league or whatever it is on Team Liquid's website, and it was mostly. What I would do is just literally pick the guys that seem to be playing pretty hot right there, but also things like if you had one Terran in a group of 3 or 4 Protoss, that Terran's going to typically do fairly well because they have one matchup, or, well, stuff like that, okay? So you can look at things and make a prediction, but then there's just going to be that guy that has that sniper build that he knows about, nobody else does, and disrupts it. But for the most part, yeah, numbers absolutely play a part.
So I guess I'll have to reach out to him to see what he uses, but in the case you guys know off the top of your head, what kind of statistics would he be going off of? Would it be just map, best of
You'll
whatever?
have to ask him. I didn't look into it. I have no idea, to be honest. I would be pulling numbers out of my butt, and it's not interesting to do that.
All right. Any idea why people are saying to call Chad Jones in the chat?
Because people always say to call Chad Jones.
I've never had chat tell me to call Chad.
Chad motherfucking Jones, is that what you're...
Chad MF Jones, yes. All right. Let's talk about some very sad news that we got today. QXC finally announced his retirement. I knew he was going to. I had hoped he would change his mind, but obviously he didn't. And I think did you read his post, Jeff?
Most of it, yeah.
So he brings up right off the bat the Red Bull thing. And I think that's no one's fault. It's not Blizzard's fault. It's not Red Bull's fault. It's not QXC's fault. It's just like, bad, when you're in a beta that is being patched very, very regularly, things are being toyed with and tested. It was a risk, and I think everyone knew it. But it's one of those things that, despite it being unavoidable, it still had an impact on him. And he was already, before Red Bull, well before they even qualified for that, he was heading down this direction. So that kind of, seems to have had that last blow. Like anything that he might have been reconsidering was just kind of sucked out of him. So he's a big dude. I mean, Jeff, I put you on the spot. I didn't ask you to talk about this. This was brought up. But I guess talk about QXC and his contribution to StarCraft, and just what you are going to think about when you think QXC.
Well, I mean, everyone's going to think of the bandana and him all killing over in Korea. Like that's just an amazing event and feature. And people are like, well, they didn't really try until the final guy. Nah, it's just cool. You don't have foreigners, especially back then, doing that kind of stuff, and it's awesome. And I'll remember him for his passion, and not passion in the derogatory esports way, where you're talking about like a tryhard, but like Kevin fucking cared, man. There's videos of him destroying keyboards, which is, you can say anything you want about anger issues, but it's because he cared so damn much and was invested to such a high degree. He's an eccentric, weird guy. Like his broadcast, he got a little bit famous for yelling a whole bunch and being really loud. But when you start talking to him about StarCraft, you're hearing a guy that thinks about this game on a deeper level, thinks about it probably all the time, is extremely intelligent himself, and I just think the world of him. He's just a super awesome guy. He'll be missed for sure. But it's cool. He talked about he's doing Project Discord as a board game that he's making, and he is a gamer through and through. So I would say I'm excited, but to be honest, it's like I'm not a huge board game guy, but I think he's going to make a cool board game, and I wish him all the best of luck with it.
My first interaction with Kevin was in 2013, where I did this stupid Church of Terran thing. I don't know if you guys even remember that, but I made these posts worshiping Tasia, and then I did this. One of them blew up, and I was like, I'm going to hold a service for the Church of Terran, and he actually recorded a video like he started the video off with like this slow motion owl, like this snow owl landing and picking up a mouse or something, and then just majestic music, and then the owl floated off, and then he says, "Hello, my brethren. Welcome to the Church of Terran." And then he actually went into a little thing about using Thors against Vipers and all that, and it was really, or zoning out Vipers while going mech, and it was just awesome. The fucking dude didn't know me. I reached out to him, said I had an idea, and he helped out. So QXC was really fucking awesome for that. And then I've seen him at a few Red Bulls. I saw him at a few different events, and he's a really great guy. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to see him in the earlier years of StarCraft 2, that I wasn't around to see that stuff. Yeah. Steven, did you ever, I don't know, hang out with QXC, interact with him?
Yeah, I mean, I saw him at events and whatnot. Yeah. I don't have like a really super close relationship, but I think we were en route together. If not, then I was there like right after he was, and he still hung out on the team chats and whatnot. But like, I've interacted with him like a fair bit, but I'm not like I said, I wouldn't say I'm close friends. Yeah. But
so that's sad news. I really don't know if there's anything else to say. I will say this though. Also, some of the best episodes of the late game are the ones that had QXC on here, coming on to talk about the game, coming to walk us through. There was the one earlier this year with Puck and QXC in the WCS qualifier, where both Puck and QXC sat and went through, you know, what's going on. And in that game, it was one where you used nukes for zoning out and harassment against Puck. It was really awesome. And so if you guys if you haven't seen those, go back on YouTube. Those are up, and it was just really great content from him. So I'm gonna miss him. It sucks to see him go. And Jeff, last thought: do you think we're gonna see QXC get the pro gamer bug again, where he might take a break?
Interesting question, because much like so many things, StarCraft is that seductress that, you know, once you retire from, we usually see them pretty quickly thereafter. Like Supernova just streamed, I think it was. Anyways, with QXC, I would guess pro gamer certainly not, but I could see. I think you'll find a couple of random NA accounts playing Terran that are surprisingly good for the weird name that they have. That's not QXC. I think he'll still play out there.
Okay,
is what I would guess.
All right. I hope we see him commentate. I hope that after his game launches and he finishes that, I hope once he's done with school. I think he's still in school. But I hope he's done and he decides, you know what, I'm going to commentate Legacy of the Void. I think that would be really awesome. He's a really great analyst. You get to work with him at an IEM before, Jeff?
No, I did not.
Okay. Yeah, he's great to watch, great analyst, great caster. So QXC...
Yeah, but you think everyone's great. So.
Listen, there are people I think suck. I just don't say it in public.
I'm just teasing. That's your trigger one. We're going to get you. Get you to go again.
All right, let's move on. We are going to patch 3.0. Let's talk about the lack of hackers, or temporary lack of hackers. Some people have said, you know, there are a few back, but who knows? When we can't talk about what we think Blizzard is doing. We can't talk about any of that stuff. What we can't talk about is just that we said, you know, something was coming, and I was pretty excited to see that thread. What'd you think when you saw that, Destiny? The hacker thread on the subreddit.
I don't know. I got into an argument with that. I don't know. Fuck hackers. Are you just talking about the fact that like the hacking shit was
broken,
banned? I mean, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
what else is there? I mean, it's cool that they fucked the hacking shit up. what other comments could I possibly have on that? Like, it's a disappointing day for programmers. Like, what, you're backing me into a corner here. What other? I mean, could you give me some like sample text for like input that I could have to this conversation right now?
All right,
Steven, you're the edgy one. You're supposed to defend hackers because it's like, you know, freedom of choice and stuff.
No, some fucking retard on fucking Twitter got it into me with it because I said he started backing it. He was saying shit like, "What's wrong?" Like he said there was no big deal about hacking. I don't know. I think hackers are shitters. Fuck that shit. If you hack in a game, you're a pretty shitty person. I think.
Yeah.
What did this guy even fucking say? I gotta find it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I'm supposed to say other than like, good job, fuck the hackers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Talk about your experience with hackers. Talk about the experience with, you know, one hack's gone, but then two pop up. You know, like the different, you know.
Is that what this looked like to you?
No, actually it doesn't. But I was just trying to give you discussion points.
Well, but that was the whole point of this post. Is this what I do? You want me to summarize the post? So the reason why this was cool was because Blizzard apparently did a lot of changes to, like a lot of structural changes to the way that the I don't know what the information was stored in the memory or underlying fundamental changes to the structure of the game. I'm not entirely sure like what it was, but it was a lot of underlying architecture that would have required severe reworks. Usually the way that it goes, from my limited understanding, usually the way that it goes with hacking programs is if a patch comes out, then you have to figure out what the patch changed, and then you just make a couple tweaks, and then usually you're good to go. You just have to try to stay one step ahead of the anti-hack engine. But apparently Blizzard made so many changes that it's supposedly dissuaded a lot of people from wanting to try to even like think about changing their hack programs. They're just like, fuck it, like this shit is way fucked now, so we don't care anymore.
There it is. Great segment.
That was the article.
It's fucking beautiful.
He did it.
Thanks.
He did it.
Do you think that Tom Hardy is the best actor of our generation?
I think Tom Hardy's good, but the best actor? Doesn't that go to Daniel Day-Lewis?
Isn't he? I mean, does he count as our generation? Like, is it now living, or do we count people in our age group? Anyway, patch 3.0. But
wait, what was the I'm sorry.
So does someone to say that someone is the best actor in our generation? Does that mean alive right now, while we live, or is it of our age group, of our generation?
I don't know. Even the word like generation, people argue like what the word generation means. I mean, we could play the definition game. I don't know. What does it count? Some people say that like generation Y doesn't exist? It's just like some other generations, like 2.0 or some shit. I don't fucking know, dude.
I don't know. I just hate millennials, and when people tell me I'm a millennial, I get sad.
Why do you hate millennials, dog? We're fucking. Do I count as? Wait, I don't know.
Changing
if I count
the world. I don't know. Yeah.
Let me check.
I hate hipsters.
Millennials are the demographic cohort following Generation X. There are no precise dates when the generation starts and ends. Most researchers and commenters use birth years ranging from the early 1980s to the early 2000s. Oh, I'm a millennial. Cool. We're millennials together. I think everyone here is a millennial.
Yeah. Can we all?
Yeah.
Let's just all do it.
For serious. All right. Anyway, 3.0 fix some bugs. Shit was done. The game is running pretty decent. Jeff, I don't know. Do you have some bugs when they patched it?
No, I've been playing the single player though, so who knows?
Okay, I actually haven't. Is it good?
Well, I'm
just on the HOTS one right now because I haven't played the other one.
Oh.
You know, one of the are you Jeff? What difficulty are you playing that on?
I saw a thread in one of the threads saying they were very upset that Jeff was bad at the campaign mode.
That's what I saw.
I played Wings of Liberty on hard, guys. I did.
Hey, I play on easy. I just want to get through the content, so I have no shame in my game. That's how I play Diablo too, though. I just spam click, get through it, and then I'm done. I don't play the multiple, times through, all that crap. All right, so really nothing too big to talk about. The game was buggy. 3.0 was buggy, so they patched the fixes, and it just so happens that they some of the things that they were talking about doing for hackers got implemented, and that's a good day for everyone in StarCraft. Legacy of the Void. All right, so this topic was asked that we discuss this. Let's talk about it real quick. Steven?
What?
This is coming to you. Talk to me about siege tanks, right? A lot of people are upset. They think that it was the penultimate fucking TVT matchup was watching tanks and positioning battles and all that stuff. Do you think that something seriously awesome about StarCraft was ruined by making the siege tank able to be lifted up in siege mode by a medevac? From your personal viewing perspective.
I don't know. Let me hold on. Let me first dig into the hundreds of TVT games that I've played on Legacy of the Void beta.
We're talking from a viewer too. You've watched.
I don't know, from everything that I've read, but this is from super fucking biased Reddit comments. Things that I've read make it sound like the lifted siege tanks are hella fucking stupid. TVT, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, and some people might disagree with this, or maybe we would swap out like ZVT or something. But I think TVT is, well, it was undeniably the best mirror matchup in like all of StarCraft 2 history, right? I don't think anybody disagrees with that, right?
Completely agree.
Right. So TVT was the best mirror matchup, and in some cases, and at some points in StarCraft 2 history, TVT was just the best matchup. Period. Back in the early days, I want to say like around 2012, when you would get like these mech versus bio games, and even like some of the, I don't know, like the positioning battles and all of that shit was like super fucking interesting. It was just like really, I don't know, it was just a really sick matchup. To go from having those matchups, and even TVT, I guess towards like late Heart of the Swarm, still from everything that I saw, still seemed to be really interesting. Even the mech versus mech games are interesting. To go from that to, I I guess where it's just like flying siege tank wars against each other, and that's like the only viable possible thing you can do. I don't know if that's really what it is today. Then yeah, I mean that seems pretty shitty.
All right, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the we've had them for a while. They don't seem to be going anywhere. What are your thoughts on what they did to the TVT?
I don't have a strong opinion on this, to be honest with you. Like, I have not seen games wrecked by the flying tanks, but I don't play TVT, and of the matches that I've watched in Legacy of the Void at highest levels, granted it's been very low, so I don't know. I don't have an opinion.
All right, cool. And what do you think about the beta as it stands? We have to ask this question every week, but what do you think of the beta right now?
I'm having a good time. I enjoy it.
Cool. Any particular thing that you think needs to be addressed?
I don't know. Loosely speaking, I think Liberators seem a little bit strong, I guess. If not strong, then their, like, animation or something like that needs to be just kind of adjusted, which I think it will for game launch. I don't think it'll be as it is, but just when they siege up and are shooting things, it's just a weird, like, it's a very gentle, absolute annihilation of whatever's there. It does not convey that you're losing your entire army in a very fast pace. It's kind of weird that way. It's unlike anything else in the game. Like, when you get hit by a siege tank, you're like, holy fuck, I got hit by a siege tank.
Right.
You get hit by a Liberator, you're like, what is that thing tickling my nuts and annihilating everything? So it just doesn't really connect with it. So I don't know. Even just a minor nerf to it, like just slowing its attack rate ever so slightly when it's in its siege mode. Just little things like that. I don't know. That's the one area I would look at a little bit.
Right. I think they added that
Did
a couple patches ago. Yeah, just like there's like a 0.5 second pause when it lands, but I don't know if that did make it or if they reverted it, but I haven't played it with siege tanks much lately. But there's really nothing much to talk about on the beta, though. We're getting closer, guys. It's the 14th. We're less than 30 days from the beta from the actual launch of the full game. It's going to be exciting. Real quick, I'm going to spring another topic on these guys, but it's one that I've been looking into. WCS points and the WCS point disparity caused by the SSL. Not only that, but I also want to talk about the other tournaments. DreamHack, IEM, Gfinity. Tournaments that do not have region-locked qualifiers, that have invites, etc. When, players can get invited into the round that gives WCS points. Things like that. I guess I really want to... What I first want to say is, yes, absolutely 100%. The SSL gives a lot of WCS points to Koreans only. A lot of the top people in the WCS bracket... I did the top 100 WCS points holders, and there was actually a huge flip in the top 20 when it comes to, so not a flip, there was still a lot that stayed within BlizzCon qualifying, range, but there were a lot of players that would have dropped down. Polt was actually like number 4, I think, on the list after you took out all the SSL points, right? Or Hydra. So these players, they get those extra points, but then you have WCS or IEM and DreamHack. Now, when I brought this up before, a lot of people were like, well, the Koreans aren't going to have a lot of time to go and fly and go to all these events and get WCS points at all these other, IEMs, DreamHacks. They're not going to have time because they're doing SSL and GSL and all that. No, apparently they did, because also a huge portion of these IEM DreamHack points went to Koreans as well. So for the future of WCS, there are hints that it is going to be full region locked. I haven't heard anything definitive from anyone in the industry, so I can't say, yeah, inside word. But the whisper is that it is going to be completely region locked. Do you think, Jeff, that DreamHack, IEM should have, if they do invites, it should be equality? They give X number to Europe, North America, and Korea. And that if they hold qualifiers, they should be region-locked qualifiers?
That's not what they're talking about.
Huh? No. I'm asking that.
Qualifiers.
No, I'm asking that. So
you're asking if DreamHack should have qualifiers for their tournament?
No. So if they do invites, so I'm not talking about the DreamHack Open, right? I'm talking about a DreamHack that does, online qualifiers, or an IEM that does online qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think the SSL should be removed to get just rid of that blatant point disparity given to Koreans over foreigners? And then do you think the other events that also contribute to the high, weight should not necessarily, seed foreigners up higher in the tournament, but if they invite 16 players, invite 8 foreigners, 8 Koreans, something to the effect of not just allowing the Koreans to have this points disparity?
So I'm trying to dial back the meanness, but just the idea of like hypothetically collapsing the SSL to take away points from Koreans, like, and is like so strangely an affront to everything that it just doesn't make like what hypothetical is this that we have like Blizzard like shutting them down, we have this assassin killing everyone involved or something like that. Like, no, if FIM's going to run a league, they're going to run a league. If you're worried about Koreans having points, that too is kind of a weird concept, just because like yes, they had it weighted more heavily in their direction, but if they region lock so that WCS like NA and EU is specifically for non-Koreans, I think that helps with the point system anyways. I don't like the idea of like uh, artificially closing a league because there's no agency for that and it's just not ever going to happen, so why even talk about it? And then as far as having qualifiers where only certain people can qualify from each region for tournaments, they've done that before, and one of the problems you run into is like, well, none of the North American players plan on sending themselves, so unless you're going to pay travel, which these leagues aren't, not for StarCraft anyways, then that just doesn't make any sense because the North Americans won't come.
Keep SSL, but just get rid of their points because that didn't have points before 2015, right?
Correct. Again, I wouldn't get rid of their points. If you want to talk about like dialing it back a little bit, sure, something like that. But Koreans need help. They play in the hardest region. They're the ones that are the most dedicated to StarCraft, and they produce the highest content. I don't disagree that non-Koreans do need a help and leg up because they just can't compete with that scene. But like being so ham-fisted as like closing a league or taking points away from 50% of their way of qualifying, no, that's way too heavy-handed.
All right. So what about giving slots specifically for BlizzCon to foreigners, kind of like the way League of Legends does Worlds? You have each region getting a certain number. So instead of BlizzCon being top 16 period, it's top 16, top whatever from each region. So maybe top 8 from Korea, then top 4 from Europe, top 4 from North America.
That idea has been kicked around before, actually, and because certainly the idea is they need to make it so that more foreigners make it to BlizzCon, so it's more interesting and diverse for the global scene. Because right now it's just 15 Koreans and one non-Korean, literally, but the non-Korean just barely made it in by the skin of his teeth. I think that's okay. I'm not nearly as like affronted by that, but I just think the redistribution of points and where they're earned is better off. Like this year, it was tilted towards the Koreans, and it's not because they traveled to all the events and won all those events. That helped for a few, but for the most part, Hero in particular has barely made it out of Korea this year, and he's just absolutely crushed it in the GSL and SSL and done really, really well. So he's just like by far the #1 player. Like I think he has 2,000 or 3,000 more than the #1 player did at BlizzCon last year. I want to say that that's true. Something crazy like that. So, yeah, you redistribute the points, but you still, I still think you need plenty of points for Koreans. I think BlizzCon should be 12 or 13 Koreans because they are the absolute best, but I think it should be a little bit easier for a couple more foreigners to make it into BlizzCon so that we do have some diversity there.
I, for one of the few times ever, really disagree with you. I think that we need to have, it needs to be split. I don't like seeing this one guy. Like I don't think Lilbo's going to make it out. I really don't. I think Lilbo's going to go out in the first round, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I think Lilbo's going to go out in the first round, and it's just going to be another like, all right, so which Korean do I like? And I don't like that. I want the WCS finals to be a global representation of not global overall best, but region best meeting for that one, big event.
But if you had it your way, it wouldn't just be Lilbo. It would be 4 other guys that get absolutely annihilated, and then it's still just what Koreans are going to win.
You don't think that that with how many months did he have? A month and a half, 2 months of preparation, that 8 foreigners wouldn't be able to go up against 8 Koreans? And
name, not even 8. That's way too many for you to name. Name 3 foreigners, because your example is Lilbo versus Life, and you don't like Lilbo's chances. Fair enough. Name me 3 non-Koreans that would beat anyone near Life's level. In a best of 5, by the way.
Well, you put me on the spot. I don't know.
Well, it's not even on the spot. It should be a short list, but you can't even think of another one.
It's like a very short list. Like Addis Prime, maybe Naniwa, maybe.
And it's not Naniwa. Naniwa's nowhere near his prime right now. He couldn't do it.
No, I was saying like Addis Prime, like maybe Naniwa could, but in terms of like foreigners, I don't know, like the good European players now, maybe Snoot in his prime.
Snoot's a good argument, sure.
I mean, if
Snoot.
I was going to just name off the top on my head right now, it would be, Snoot. Lobo would still be there at the top. Snoot,
Uh-huh.
Lobo, Mana. I mean,
Mana.
Uh,
Sure. So here's the
really?
thing. Here's the thing. You're at number 3, and we're starting to roll our eyes and shake our head a little bit. My point to you is no, that would be a terrible tournament that would be even more anticlimactic because the foreigners and the Koreans right now have a giant gap. There are Koreans that travel to these events, your Poltz, and various others that Hydra drops a series that they can be beaten. Then you have guys like Maru, Life, Hero, even Parting right now as he's in Korea. Like they're at a level where yes, Snoot can take a series off of them. He can take even 2 series off of 2 of them in a row at a tournament. That's huge. But at a BlizzCon where it's single elimination, your back's up against the wall, if you take those 4 foreigners, there's a chance. I'm not saying there's not, and I'm excited about those chances that one of those foreigners, maybe 2, could take a game or 2 or even a series. 1 series, I would say, off of those guys. But if you talk about a tournament where 8 of them are foreigners and 8 of them are the Koreans from Korea, you're looking at 7 or 8 Koreans absolutely easily going through and doing it in such a gigantic slap to the face that it's like kind of comical, right? And
Couldn't
that
you,
actually
like-
does happen in LCS, by the way, for the most part as well.
So here's a question: couldn't you kind of mitigate the fucked upness of that tournament by doing it with seeding, where like the first the round of 8 is literally like 1 Korean versus 1 foreigner, or whatever, and then
They do seed
after and then after you pass the first round, then you kind of get to the real tournament, and then if any foreigners survived, all the better. But then otherwise, at least the whole tournament isn't ruined, where you have like the finals are like a horrible underdog versus a Korean who's just going to shut on them easily.
I don't disagree. So there's this is the thing that always gets said. Someone in the chat saying BlizzCon should be the 16 absolute best players, and that's mostly the sentiment. But there's a line that's trying to be walked, which is it should be 16 of the absolute best players. But if we could get a couple of foreigners in there for viewership and for interest purposes, we're going to try. And they don't really like the idea of absolutely seeding them in because then that's looked at like with an asterisk. That's looked at as like an artificial. Oh, you barely made it in. Like the way Lilbo made it in, nobody's going to be talking about how he had an easier path. That's not going to be a storyline. They're going to talk about how holy shit, the best foreigner has made his way into this and is now facing the titan that is life. So you need to create a system where these foreigners earn it, but they earn it under the, there's a little bit of a guise going on there where it's like it wasn't them in GSL and SSL, let's be honest, but they had enough points available to them throughout the year where they could make 1 or 2 or 3 even foreigners in that top 16.
I guess the thing that I don't like, and maybe there's not an answer for it. Maybe I'm stuck sitting here not liking the situation, but because what you said, you made a lot of really good points about what the round of 16 would be for BlizzCon, if that's how we did it. Because it would be, Steven, it would end up, if they did seeding based on performance, it would be foreigner versus Korean all the way down in the round of 16. And that's the way you'd want it, because you wouldn't want one side of the brackets to be foreigners, one side to be Koreans, and then you end up with a raffle stomp at the end. So maybe sitting here being unhappy is the only place to be, because I don't like the idea that WCS finals, the 3 finals, are the only points within the year where I get to be excited for a foreigner winning. It's like that's it, and it peters out. And yeah, I'm going to root for fucking Lobo. I'm going to be excited for him. I'm going to go there and I'm going to have a sign and I'm going to hold it up and it's going to say fucking Lobo. Yeah, and
wow,
right, creative. But the point is that I mean, is there no?
You're not
solution?
alone, Mike, and people like to watch foreigners against Koreans, and of course, this is something that's been talked about for a while. So, going absolute ham and like just shoehorning in foreigners into a tournament can work if the foreigners do well, or it can backfire on you and make the tournament even worse if the foreigners get slaughtered. And right now, if you're a betting person, you don't want to delegitimize your tournament at the risk of a foreigner excelling beyond where 99% of them fail. You just don't want that. So right now, we are fortunate enough with this BlizzCon where we can look at it and say, minus a couple of guys that kind of fell off at the end, this is probably the closest we've ever come to the absolute best players on planet Earth playing at that time. And it's cool that Lilbo, who I think we would all say with a straight face is not one of the top 16 best players on planet Earth, did find his way into that tournament and has a chance. He's got his best matchup against a Zerg that can sometimes play too aggressive, Life, who's amazing. And if Lilbo beats Life in the round of 16, he goes to BlizzCon, and that would be incredible. So there are good storylines for this tournament, and it's not just a bunch of which hasn't happened at a BlizzCon, by the way. We've actually always had really good games and really good players there, which is pretty. It's what you're going to get from a
Yeah.
funneling system like this. I don't disagree with you about the foreigners, but right now we have no one to blame but kind of the foreigners. And next year we can hope that the system is a little bit more skewed towards a few thousand extra points going the way of foreigners' hands. And if they do, we'll have 2 or 3 more foreigners in there. Or excuse me, not more, but 1 to
Yeah.
3, I would say, and that's a good tournament. I think that's as good of a BlizzCon as you can hope for.
Yeah, and you know, you are right. You are right, and it's kind of like, you know, those foreigners can get there, but can they win? And for the most part, no, they can't. So, yeah, I guess I can't think of it. I can't really think of anything else to say about it because it's going to be next year. If it's the same way, even if I have the prospect of a few more foreigners getting there, it's still going to be okay. Season 3's over. Now it's just let's get excited about some good StarCraft because none of my foreign favorites are actually going to really kick ass at BlizzCon. So that, yeah. And as a celebration of StarCraft, I will say this: I am fucking stoked for this year's BlizzCon. It is going to be 8 of the most amazing games are going to be played from the studios, and then, you know, the following series after that are just going to be incredible, and it's going to be something awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it live. So it's going to be a good BlizzCon.
It's going to be amazing, and I think this year's been better too for WCS, where like every tournament the year before was always Koreans versus Koreans, like it just was no parity that way.
Mm-hmm.
But this last year we did get to see, you know, the Mana run and Lilbo run at WCS, and before that Lilbo again making a run. Like we've had some exciting foreigner competitions, and if we can do more of that next year, great. But I think people in StarCraft still, they want a system that rewards the best, and that's always going to be Koreans. So we should still have a system that does that. It would be really weird and unfair if it was like, okay, Koreans, all of you compete in your single little league, and oh, by the way, it's region locked, so, you know, whatever 8 of you come out of that, you can, I guess, make some money. And the rest of us will reward people that are significantly worse than all of your guys. Like your number 30 guy would be in God mode at this BlizzCon, or excuse me, at this DreamHack, but because of our nationalistic and racial laws, we're going to just keep you out of it. So we need a system that's fair for everyone, but it obviously gives a little bit of a handicap to foreigners because they need it. And if we can do that, that's great.
One thing I do want to say, just to make sure that it wasn't misunderstood, I wasn't saying get, you know, like completely block Koreans from DreamHack or IEM. I was just saying that if you hold a qualifier, like let's say you have 6 slots, you hold a region locked qualifier, so that 2 slots are slated for Koreans, 2 slots for Europe, 2 slots for North America. I wasn't saying like completely push Koreans out of DreamHack. Just want to make sure that was clear. Cool. All right. So let's move on. That's really it for the show topics. We're going to go over a few quick questions, just some things we didn't touch upon. Question, what do you guys expect from the Blizzard ladder rework? Yeah, so this is exciting. They announced that they are going to be reworking the ladder. And as far as expectations from that, I don't know really. Jeff, do you want to touch that one?
No.
No, okay. There we go. That's the most we can say. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. That's really all I can say we can expect is exciting.
Are they going to shit their pants, Lycan? Are they going to just...
Yeah.
Is this the one?
So,
is this the one?
No. But you know what? Someone said in the hacker thread, they're like, all right, I finally shit my pants. Lycan wins. And
there you go.
Yeah. But no, do I think that... So if the criteria for shitting your pants is how close to what the community wants Blizzard is providing for you, if you look at the ladder, you're probably going to be on a 7 to 8, maybe a 9, right? So that's what I'll say is if you think about what the community wants on a ladder, I'd be expecting a 7 response. We'll go with that. I feel that's a safe way to quantify how you'll feel.
That's not even a squirt. Just next question.
DreamHack winner has 16 European qualifier spots, 2 American qualifier spots, and not a single Korean qualifier spot. Qualifiers are citizen-based, so Polt, Violet, Jadon cannot qualify there, inviting 4 Koreans to be named later. Do you think it's a good idea for tournaments to be pseudo-rig a Korean versus foreigner final, since this is what gets the most viewers? I actually didn't read this question before the show. Do you have a thought on that, Jeff, since we just came off that topic?
It's been absolutely proven that the viewership rises with like the interest of the players, and in particular if it's foreigner versus Korean. So yeah, it's something a tournament should try to actually create happen, but or create the happening of.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But it's like if you go too far and you absolutely rig it to happen, then people will be a little bit not okay with that. But this tournament is the it's like one of the first, if not the first, offline Legacy of the Void tournament. It's big, $50,000 cash prize. Like that's awesome. The game's only going to be out for a couple of weeks, and this is already happening. So think of this as like the qualifiers are for the foreigners that are playing the game and deserve it, and then the invite Koreans are going to be powerhouse Koreans. Like you're not going to see you're going to be excited about this tournament. It's going to be all your favorite foreigners versus the big name Koreans in a brand new game. It's going to be awesome, and that's a winning strategy. Like tip of the hat to DreamHack. Should you run every tournament like that? No, probably not. I wouldn't do that. I would stick to the old format. But for this one, as like the opening StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void tournament, cool.
Have they announced the talent pool for this one yet?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, Jeff. I'm asking this totally serious. Do you feel that the campaign is harder than playing on ladder, or are you actually
What?
bad at it, or is this a joke?
It's mostly a joke. He's asking why I'm bad at it, because I'm actually not very good at single-player RTS campaigns, as you would believe it, because the other time that I ever played one was when I was, like, 11 years old, and it was Red Alert or something like that. I've died, like, 3 times or something, so I guess I'm pretty terrible. I don't know.
Does that make you bad in an RTS?
I have no idea. I didn't watch anyone else play it. I haven't played it before. I'm playing it now because I do actually think the Legacy of the Void single player looks cool. And just as a StarCraft fan, I should have played the single players. So I'm like 3 years late on this one, but for fuck it sakes, I'm going to do it. So if I'm bad, let me show you my ego. Let me show you all the ego I got about how good I am or bad I am at a single player RTS campaign. It's right there. You can see it on my face. Okay.
All right. Well, guys, that was we ran 78 minutes. That's pretty good for a showtime. We didn't make it to a full hour and a half. I'm pretty impressed with the flow of content. Anyway, Jeff, Steven, thank you guys for coming on. Viewers, thank you all for watching. Steven, you first. What's going on in your dank world?
Nothing much. Probably gonna play more Minecraft tonight. We'll have a big server reset. Got new mods. Should be fun.
Well,
nice, nice.
look out for those creeper things, man.
Minecraft things, yeah.
Jeff, what about you? You have a lot going on tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do Rural Play Solemn in 2 hours and 50 minutes or whatever. It's a D&D show that we do, if you know about it. And then tomorrow I'm playing Warhammer with my friends pretty much all day, so I'll try to stream, but for the most part it'll just be all offline stuff. And then Friday I'm going to Seattle to watch the Seahawks play against the Panthers, but also see family that I haven't seen in months. So that's my most recent stuff. And I'm going to be a part of some productions coming up that I can't talk about because they haven't announced their talent pool yet, but I'm excited to be continuing to fight for esports.
Huzzah. I actually have a question for you.
Huh.
Super Bowl this last year, Seahawks played in it, right?
They did play in the last Super Bowl, yes.
Wasn't it a Seahawks rookie that like made that game-winning catch, or that game-winning interception? Yeah, you lost.
Yeah, we lost in the last play.
Who did you guys play against?
The Patriots, a team out of New England.
Oh, that's right. Okay, was it a Patriots guy that made that catch? I can't remember what the play was. That was
when the other team catches the ball. It's called an interception. Like, yes,
no,
the other.
Was that what it was though? An interception.
That's correct.
Okay, so I was doing a little like research on the. We had talked about the overhyping of game moments, right? And I was kind of just thinking through how I would have this discussion, and that was one of the examples I had thought about. And I remember you being a Seahawks fan, but I couldn't remember.
Well, do a little bit more research and do a little bit more thinking about it. And the next time we have this conversation, I think it should go a lot better.
Oh, speaking of research, so you know that guy from ESPN that shit on, well, formerly ESPN.
Howard, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought one of his books.
That doesn't seem. That's not good.
And because I was looking for sports media books and broadcasting books, and because Borders got shut down, BAM has really shitty fucking selection. But then again, who buys books in person anymore, right? I should be buying them on the internet. But I like physical hard copies, and I like being able to look at it.
Yeah, you like it hard.
Anyway, so you know, we'll talk about this another day because I'm still reading the book. So we'll discuss that. And anyway, guys, thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week with the Late Game episode 46. Oh, are either of you streaming after this? Like right after?
Not right after. I will be in like 10 or 20 minutes.
Gotta do other stuff. Yeah.
All right, then we will see you guys later. Have a good week.
Bye.